Being members of a very affluent and technologically advanced country, we are always curious about the next new device. But what we seem to neglect in thought is the end of technology's life. What happens to the electronics that we just throw away? E-waste refers to the electronic products that are nearing the end of their useful life. These electronic products can include computers, televisions, VCRs, stereos, copiers, fax machines, and perhaps the most notorious perpetrator, cell phones. While it may be convenient for you to just throw away an old electric product, this actually has several very harmful effects on the environment, which will eventually ultimately transform into several very harmful effects on us. The electronic waste problem is a significant one. According to a study by Fixit.org, more than 20 million tons of e-waste are produced every year. Americans alone generate about 3.4 million tons of e-waste per year. To put this into perspective, if you put every blue whale alive today on one side of a scale and a year's worth of U.S. e-waste on the other, astonishingly, the e-waste would be heavier. And this isn't a problem that is slowing down. In fact, e-waste production is on the rise as global consumption of electronics is increasing. At least 50% of Africa's e-waste comes from within the country, and China discards 160 million electronic devices every year. While e-waste can be recycled, only 40% of the e-waste that the world produces is recycled. 60% of the e-waste ends up in landfills. For instance, a lot of e-waste is shipped overseas to developing countries like Accra and Ghana, where it is burned in order to salvage small valuable elements such as copper or gold as their source of income. The scariest part about this is a lot of salvaging is done by children, and many people don't know that the parts that construct the devices we use are actually extremely toxic. There are several health risks associated with e-waste that can occur from direct contact with the harmful chemicals in electronics or inhalation of the toxic fumes, and children are much more vulnerable to such health risks. In addition to the human health risks that e-waste poses, electronic waste can also do a number on the environment. Given that most used electronics end up in landfills, the toxins like lead, mercury, and cadmium can leach into the soil and into groundwater. Leaching is a process in which water-soluble substances are washed out from soil or wastes. The leached-out chemicals are called leachites. While the process of leaching is quite natural, the leachites are the opposite and cause pollution of surface and subsurface water, not just any water, our drinking water. Not to mention that these toxins will ultimately end up in the oceans. Our waste is polluting drinking water and harming ecosystems around the world, which doesn't look so great in the long run. So what has been done to fix the issue? The government has attempted to regulate the e-waste problem. The passage of the Electronic Waste Recycling Act of 2003 defines certain portions of the electronic waste stream, and the systems to recover and recycle them are administratively regulated beyond the universal waste rules that apply to material handling. In addition, over the last few years, various international calls for action have highlighted the need of strategic interventions in the field of e-waste. Several acts for pledges for action have been proposed to protect the health of the children who are salvaging parts from e-waste in developing countries. Also, the World Health Organization, also known as WHO, has recently launched the E-Waste and Child Health Initiative aiming at protecting children and their families from detrimental health consequences due to e-waste. What can you do as a consumer to help alleviate the consequences of this issue? Follow the 3 R's: reduce, reuse, and recycle. Start by trying to reduce your generation of e-waste through smart procurement and good maintenance. And don't think you have to update to the newest version of the iPhone every time one comes out. It's not likely that companies like Apple that are making billions off of new designs will ever stop or even slow down. But as consumers, we need to be able to control our consuming. But if not, there's always the option to reuse. You can sell or donate your devices to others if they are still in good shape. As for recycling, while there are some legitimate organizations that properly and ethically carry out the e-waste recycling process, it is easy to be scammed by people who will just strip the e-waste of their most valuable commodities and proceed to dump the remains illegally and unethically, often in developing countries. Pay attention to what the recycling organization asks you for. If you are being asked for a payment, it is likely the organization is legitimate because it costs money for the proper e-waste recycling process to be carried out. If the so-called organization offers you money for your e-waste, it is likely a scam. E-waste is not a small issue, but if we all work together, it can be tackled, and we can restore the health of both the people in developing countries and the entire planet.